News First, face to face with Ratnayake.
Without justice, even the most heinous crimes go unpunished. And justice in Sri Lanka is something that all of our people wish to be served to the wrongdoers. Why I say this is, if you recall, over the past few months, from last year to this year, there were a number of incidents reported from state hospitals island-wide where substandard medicine was administered on patients, and that caused them to be either disabled or to lose their lives. And now there has been an investigation initiated on that matter. A judicial process has also been initiated, and more recently, the former health minister, who was the environment minister up until 2 days ago, has also been arrested and remanded. All of this was advocated for and also pushed forward by a group of civil activists. And my guest tonight is no stranger to Face and has also been in the forefront of the struggle against obtaining justice for those who lost their lives as a result of the substandard medicine in Sri Lanka's healthcare sector, and also to ensure that such an act does not ever occur in Sri Lanka. My guest tonight is the former chairman of the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, and I could say that he is a civil activist now. He is Janaka Ratnayake. Thank you very much for joining me, Mr. Ratnayake, once more.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So, Mr. Ratnayake, like I mentioned in my opening remarks, the healthcare system and the substandard drugs that were used in the healthcare system dominated headlines in recent months. And we saw how several top officials in the Ministry of Health were arrested and remanded, and very recently, Member of Parliament Ramukwella, who was the Minister of Health at the time and was also indicted as the 8th suspect in that case, was arrested and remanded. We saw you in front of the CID with several civil activists when it was announced that Mr. Ramukwella was remanded, and there were signs of jubilation at that point. So, up until now, tell me how that struggle, how that fight has been like.
No, I think this is a very landmark incident where the justice has been served in recent past. Why I say is that many things of this nature has been happening for decades. No results that we got positive to the victims.
Right.
And the culprits has been always escaped unharmed. The reason is that we have a very powerful political system in this country. You can probably politicians of this nature can escape committing any crime. But this time, with the support of many pressure groups, especially civic activists, the public and the media played a major role. And people do not know my role behind the scene. But we have been always with the right pressure groups to pressurize and to get the justice for the people. And sometimes people talk of my involvement also at the last moment. Why is he coming forward and trying to claim? I'm not trying to claim anything. I have been fighting for the people for last maybe a couple of years. Not maybe for a couple of years, maybe a decade. So I'm there for the people whenever they need my support and my help.
Yes.
So it has been my this thing. You may know the struggle that I went through being the former chairman of PUCSL, where we fought, and not only that, I spent almost maybe 10 to 15 million rupees to fight and get the justice to the people, but justice has not been served yet. So court process is lengthy, but in this particular situation, I think the justice is served, and we saw for the first time in Sri Lankan political history, or maybe in judicial system, that the cabinet minister has been apprehended and remanded.
Yes.
And it's a good sign because although we had a bad history, or maybe the bad experience in the past, now it is changing. So things are changing at the right time, and you can't stop it. It's part of nature, I also feel.
Right.
Now see, this scandal maybe, not only a financial fraud, I consider this as a genocide as well.
Right.
Quite similar to what happened during the World War II in Germany, where, Hitler used, many drugs and, did many experiments using people to kill people. Now, he did it purpose maybe to, eradicate the community that he did not like. But here, what happened is the innocent community who has no support from anyone. This is, more critical than that, because Hitler had a reason, but these politicians and the hierarchy did not have any reason.
Right.
They held the general public, again, not the general public, the most weakest people who are depending on the government healthcare system. Now see, so-called ministers and the powerful people, they never go to these hospitals, they never administer any drugs of this nature. Probably they will go to another country and, request things. Now see what happened now. Now this minister says that, he is sick. And no sooner the politicians go into the prison, they become patients.
And they're
this is
sent
not the
to
first
the
incident.
hospital.
We have seen this many a times. So the most powerful people, when they are just become the culprits and when they are imprisoned, they just try to get undue advantages. This is a system that we are talking about. Not only the justice to the people, but this is also not justice. Now they become patients. They probably request many things. This is very unfair. Now, this system should change. Now, that's why I said that this is a landmark incident that, things are starting to change. Because we are talking about 75 years of the problem that we had.
Yes.
This is part of that problem. This is not an isolated issue that, you cannot get this, this as a simple incident.
Yeah.
So, things are changing. And to get this change, I think many people from the especially the civic rights activists, the media, the general public, and many played a very important role. But did we see any involvement from these 200 the other politicians in the country? No, we did not see. Only the pressure groups were the public.
Yes.
We did not get the real support from the other pressure groups like, other parliamentarians, other groups. They were not part of this. And therefore, it is important that, since we got this landmark decision, and there are not only issues with the healthcare sector, there are many other areas that where we need the justice to be served.
Yes.
I think those things also will be coming into limelight in the very near future, because we have many things with power purchase agreements and many things when we talk about the IMF
conditions,
bailout, we are talking about our procurement process. Now when there is no procurement process, when there is no transparency, this type of things will happen, because the politicians and the people on top think that others are just fools.
Yes.
They are not fools. They know everything, but they did not have any opportunity to strike like this. This is a good blow for them. I think we need to move forward from this.
Right. So you said that this was a landmark decision, and using this as the bedrock, we know for many years in many governments, in many established governments, there have been cases of political impunity. Those in the upper echelons of the government or the administration have gotten away with many scandals from various scandals when it comes to healthcare sector, when it comes to infrastructure development and so on. It goes on. But do you believe that this can be used as the bedrock to eradicate that political impunity to those who thumb their noses at the sight of not following due process, those who think that they can engage in corruption and get away with it simply because they hold high power and high offices in a certain administration? Do you believe that this is going to be the start of many sectors? And now you spoke about civic groups and pressure groups. The healthcare sector is only one sector that is shrouded in corruption and malfeasances. But like you said, the power and energy sector, the infrastructure sector and so on, the highways and so on, there are so many allegations that have been brought forward over the years. So do you think these pressure groups will now turn their attention towards those sectors as well to highlight the corruption that has been taking place and ensure that justice is served?
I don't think that the pressure groups and the civic rights or civil activities can alone do this.
Alone, yes.
Yes. The reason would be the political hierarchy probably will find another way to get away with this. Right. And this has been the system in this part of the world because they are more powerful. So they can, mend the law and they can amend, they can do many things. But I feel what has happened now, people are talking about a different change. Now the system is transforming into a different shape. So we can use this to transform the system in this country. So as I told you, this is not only confined to the health sector. There are many sectors. You were talking about infrastructure. You talk about maybe the cost of 1 kilometer of highway here compared to maybe the other countries, maybe 10, 15 times more.
Higher.
Then you talk about, procurement of the diesel and petrol, and there's no proper way.
Yes.
No tender procedures, no transparency. When you are probably, privatizing, using the word privatizing, when they, give certain portions of certain entities to people, there's no process. Now, see, remember some time back, the politicians signed these agreements in the middle of the night.
Yes.
And nothing has happened up to now.
The new fortress deal.
Yes. Now see, the things of this nature, when the politicians know that, many people are watching them. And there is a precedent. Now they will probably get little bit upset also. They will probably not engage as they blindly did
before.
Like before. So this is a good change and system is transforming. System further should transform. I said that, now say we are talking about 220 plus people for this. And there are another 200 and plus people against. Now say they should voice their thoughts. They should come out. They should support this activist and have a collective agreement to eradicate. I don't think you can eradicate this, but you can minimize and with the system transformation you can eradicate.
You can bring it to a certain
manageable level. And the corruption of this country, I don't think that it is easy to be eliminated.
Right.
Because it is, gone into...
It has pervaded multiple sectors.
Yes. So, to eradicate that will take time. But this change, what we saw a week ago, is a good sign of a changing.
Right.
So, what we need to see is now, like the health sector, see the other areas where this pressure needs to be built up.
Right. So let's touch on that, Mr. Ratnayake. We know, and our viewers also know, that you're the former chairman of the PUCSL. You were also removed as the chairman of the PUCSL by Parliament, but many people attribute it to the fact that you were trying to protect the rights of electricity consumers in this country. And we know that even the power and energy sector is mired in corruption in Sri Lanka. There have been allegations, there have been stories that have come out of those corrupt activities. So shed some light to me and our viewers about some of those corrupt dealings, the misdealings and the discrepancies in the power and energy sector.
So I think the many people are aware in this country that I was the only chairman of a commission removed by the majority of the votes from the parliament. And that is according to the PCSL Act. And we leave aside, we leave that aside and talk about maybe the corruption that take place in this, entities. Now you say we were remember maybe 1.5 years ago at the COP meeting at Parliament, I said the fuel prices could be reduced, and the formula published or maybe the tweeted by the minister is just just numbers, and there's no particular formula. So you have the import cost, then you add the supporting or maybe the other cost to the import cost, and you say this is a price.
Okay, so there was no scientific basis.
Okay. And I said that fuel can be given maybe 200 rupees less than the price of that time.
Okay.
And it was proved maybe after some time, because at that time at the COP meeting, even COP chairman said that maybe to at AG's department, Auto General department to do a proper calculation. So it has taken almost 2 years. They have not done it because they are unable to do it because
then it will be exposed.
Now again, there is a case pending at bribery and corruption that they are going to look into the corruption of fuel imports.
Right.
So it is been taking place at the moment, and the other thing that I'm going to talk about, since I was into this power and energy sector.
Yes.
Now you were talking about power purchase. Power purchase agreements without proper approvals.
Yes.
Now see, I have been telling maybe during my time at the PUCSL, during the time of 2016 to 2020, with the involvement of PUCSL, although the cabinet approved certain power purchase, PCSL did not agree.
Right.
And therefore they saved more than 20 billion rupees during that time.
I see.
And you can remember during my time, although the cabinet said, with the cabinet decision, increase the tariff of electricity,
Yes.
I didn't agree because cabinet cannot make any decision to increase the tariff or decrease tariff because there's a set procedure. And the authority is PUCSL, therefore I vehemently disagree and we did not continue. So I think I want even the public officials, top officials to act like that.
Yes.
If you feel that it is not in line with the rules and regulations and the law of the country, you can reject it.
You have to act in the best interest of the people.
And now what has happened in this situation at the health ministry, the top officials not rejecting the proposals by the politicians, but they even support and they do the cabinet papers.
Yes.
And the minister doesn't do the cabinet papers, the officials do it. And that's why I said that the SLA's officers, the people at top should know, and they are more conversant in administration and the procedures.
Yes, more than the
they know
minister.
better than the minister. Minister will come and I also say that you become minister today, next day morning you know everything.
Yes.
Like what happened to power and energy minister. He was just from the minister of fisheries. He took go as the cabinet minister of power and energy. He thought that he knows everything.
Right.
So this is completely wrong. So they need to get proper officials and get the advice of them and go by the rule of the books and the rule of the country and the other according to the acts, and then you do the things.
Right.
Then they can also escape, and the officials has to be careful. Now see, we are talking about only one powerful minister who was in the cabinet.
Yes.
Now how many officials are in prison?
Going to be linked.
Yeah. So they need to be careful. And they are the people who know this administration and the other procedures.
And they know the repercussions of engaging in corruption.
Yes. And this is a good lesson for the top class officials and the politicians, because if you engage in this type of activities, they surely know that they will be punished.
Yes.
And now when we are talking about this corruption and the procurement process in fuel purchasing and increasing and changing the tariff, they do not go by the rules.
Yes.
Now see, when there's authority to decide the tariff hike and when they give recommendations, this the top officials of these entities go take the advice of politicians and they just do it the way that way.
Yes.
Now, when we are challenging this, now see, we are trying to challenge all this power purchase agreements and maybe illegal tariff hikes.
Yes.
And which has been already challenged, and the things will come out in the future, maybe more than what we have seen
already
now, because we know that there's a little dynamics taking place in this judiciary sector and every place.
Yes.
So this is a good landmark case again, I'm telling you, and for people to come out, and the general public also should have interest now.
So acts of corruption are now under the microscope.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So you spoke about political parties needing to voice their concerns and voice their opposition against such corrupt acts and malfeasance that take place in state institutions. But we know that there has been an announcement made that a presidential election will be held. And according to your opinion, if you take the mainstream political parties in Sri Lanka, which political party do you believe personally is more capable of exposing the corruption that has been running rampant in Sri Lanka?
Now, the debate at the moment is not about the political parties. People reject 225 members of the parliament.
Right.
So they have been directly or indirectly part of this, what has happened to Sri Lanka.
Right.
I'm not, I'm not limiting this to the present politicians, maybe the politicians of the last 25 years.
Okay.
Now tell me, there are many political parties and they were ruling, one after the other. But what has happened to us? We have become a bankrupt nation.
Right.
And if you ask my opinion, which party probably can do better, I don't think that any party can do better because, all are part of this, the system.
Okay.
And now you see, we are talking about maybe, a political party where they have around 3-4 members. You get maybe political parties maybe with 30-40 seats.
Yes.
But all have been part of this. It's not just voicing your thoughts, shouting at the parliament and coming out with numbers and things like that. It is not because although they shout at the parliament and they know for years and years, they are not being heard. They should take proactive actions to get things done. Therefore, I say, not a single politician in the
mainstream sphere.
In the parliament can do this.
Right.
Because they all have failed collectively.
Right.
You tell me a single party who was not part of the government. Now they will say that we were not part of the government maybe for last 10-15 years. But when you take them back, they have been supporting these politicians to engage in corruption and malpractices directly or indirectly. And they are the same people who will just shout at the parliament and come out with many things, but it is not being heard.
Right.
No point in just talking, unless you get that, get some action to be,
To be initiated. But we say, the people said 225 plus 1 should all leave. Yes, the 226 plus the president and the 225 in parliament should leave and they should resign. But at the end of the day, if the fact of the matter, Mr. Ratnayake, is there needs to be a president to run the country, there needs to be a parliament. If you're saying that all mainstream political parties in Sri Lanka are complicit with corruption and what Sri Lanka has experienced over the past 2 to 3 years in its economic downfall and the crisis, what is the alternative? Who will the people vote for?
Alternative would be, now see, we have seen a failure of our economy and the country, now we have become bankrupt.
Yes.
All because of this activities of these ignorant politicians who do not know economics or management or foreign relations, things like that. But they talk big, in parliament and elsewhere. What we need is maybe, now see, we have given, we look at last 20 years, for many, so some reasons they have changed and got few people to run the country.
Right.
But they all failed. Why they failed? Because they lack of common sense. And why the country has bankrupt. Now see, we are talking about coming out of the situation. What is the economic plan to come out from this, the situation? Present government, or maybe the opposition, or maybe the another party who's trying to come into who has already probably won the elections, future elections, they should come out and tell the people, this is our plan. This is how we are going to, develop the economy. This is how we are going to, get the GDP into a different level. This is how we are going to, get the GDP growth rate from 1 to 5%. And this is how we are going to earn money to pay our debts, to import our necessary things. And this is how we are going to, run the economy. Nobody comes out with that. They talk politics.
Right.
They not only politics, they talk about geopolitics also. Before you talk geopolitics, you talk about economy. How to get this, now see, we talk about 50% of people who are not having meals to eat. Come out with a plan and say, this is how we are going to,
address hunger.
Address this hunger. And our, problems in healthcare, our problems in education, our problems in transportation, we have problems in every other sector. They don't come out with that, but they talk geopolitics, they talk about, international relations, they talk about rubbish. Let them come out and tell, this is how we are going to improve our economy, improve our productivity, efficiency. This is how we are going to, get maybe double our exports. This is how we are going to get, double our tourist arrivals. This is how we are going to get our foreign FDIs. Now see, you have seen the port city. Have you got any serious investments into that? Like in Hong Kong, like in Singapore, like elsewhere, Taiwan and things like that. We talk big, but we deliver nothing. And not only that, sometimes I just, just laugh because our leader, our president, and goes elsewhere and talk about how to change the economic landscape of the world. And without even talking about what we are facing over here. So what we need to have is maybe maybe people who will understand economics, who will understand how to develop this country, how to, probably pay these debts and to improve the lifestyle of, common people. Now you see, we are talking about 30,000-40,000 people, students going into the universities out of 500,000. What happens to the rest 400,000?
Right.
100,000 drops from all levels. Do the government look after them? They are the most vulnerable, weaker people in the society. What is their future? Then maybe another 200,000 from A levels.
Right.
So they just come into the society without any counseling or without any plan. Then we talk about unemployment. We are talking about many things. But instead you come out and say that how we are going to address these 100,000 people who are students who are probably failing O levels, 200,000 A levels. And we are talking about unemployment, underemployment, we are talking about hunger, we talk about many problems. Let these people, the veterans of the political parties who have been there for 20-30 years, come out and say, this is my plan. This is how we are going to do it within 5 years, 10 years.
Right.
Without talking about 2048 and rubbish. This is rubbish.
Okay.
And even who are now people who thought that they have already won the future elections, let them come and explain to the people. No point in sending buses and getting 10,000 people. Anybody can do. I can do that. I can have a big rally in Colombo.
Right.
I need only 10-15 million bucks. Get people and have a big show. This is not show. This is real life we are talking about.
Okay.
Give the right plan to the people. Let the people decide on the plan. Now, because we have been talking for 75 years, it's not enough. Talk is not enough. It's like, the Indian Super League, we saw, the ground support is there for the Indian team and everything is for them. Who won it? The underdogs won it.
Right.
So, game of politics in the future will be like that. Unless you come out with a proper plan, I don't think that we can move forward. We can't wait another 25 years until 2048 people to, manage their hunger. We are talking about instant hunger. So come out with a proper plan, anybody. If I feel that somebody is offering a better a solution, better plan to rescue these people, we are talking about rescue Sri Lanka.
Right.
Nothing else. We are not talking about system change. We need system transformation, rescue Sri Lanka, come out with a plan. I am 100% supporting that particular person.
Right.
I have no intention maybe to come as presidential candidate and become a fool. If somebody has a plan, even I will support. But if no one has a plan, look at my plan and see, let people decide who is the best to run the country.
Right.
We are looking at a rescue Sri Lanka, not system change. We are not talking about rubbish. Real facts, numbers.
So, Mr. Ratnayake, unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I must ask you this. Now, you spoke very eloquently about how you can address, how one must come up with a plan, present it to the people, instill confidence that they can rebuild Sri Lanka. And you're someone who has now been very vociferous about the decisions of the government on how you can eradicate corruption or manage corruption and develop the country. So do you not have any intentions of joining politics? There's a presidential election coming up, because this is a very open-ended spectrum these days that we are living in, because no one is confined to traditional political parties. At least in Colombo and its suburbs, no one is confined to traditional political parties because everyone is looking for an alternative. So are you going to be that alternative in the future?
I have already declared my presidential candidacy. And people may not know, all these civil activists and many are behind me.
Right.
And not only the civil activists, the clergies, and everybody is behind me.
Right.
And I have devised a plan where the country can be rescued. I think we need to rescue this country.
Right.
Because we have gone to a depth that, we can't just look up, because you might see when you are just, traveling in Colombo, everything is, fine and proper,
right.
But it is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this evening's Face to Face. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. And thank you for joining me this evening, Mr. Ratnayake. Thank you for our viewers as well. Take care and good night.